I love you. In May 2000, an email arrived in inboxes around the world with 3 words in the subject line: I love you. It looked like a note from someone who cared about you. People opened it by the millions. The moment they did, a script executed silently in the background. It began overwriting files, photos, music, documents, replacing them all with copies of itself. Then it opened the victim's address book and sent the same email to every single contact, automatically, without asking. One infected machine became dozens. Dozens became thousands. Thousands became tens of millions. Within 10 days, over 45 million computers were infected. The CIA, the Pentagon, and major corporations were forced to shut down their entire email systems just to stop the bleeding. A security researcher eventually traced the virus to a 24-year-old in the Philippines named Onel de Guzman, who built it because he couldn't afford internet access and wanted to steal passwords. He was never charged. Total damage, an estimated $10 to $15 billion. Mydoom. In January 2004, a new worm appeared in email inboxes. It looked like a failed message delivery notification, the kind of automated error most people would open without a second thought. That was the trap. Once opened, Mydoom installed itself quietly and began doing 2 things at once. First, it scanned the infected computer for every email address it could find and sent itself out to all of them. Second, it opened a backdoor in the system, leaving the machine permanently accessible to anyone who knew where to look. Infected computers were essentially handed over to strangers without the owner ever knowing. At its peak, Mydoom was responsible for 1 in every 4 emails sent on the entire internet. It slowed global internet traffic by 10% on the day of its release. Websites belonging to Google, SCO, and Microsoft were knocked offline by waves of traffic from millions of hijacked computers firing at them simultaneously. The creator was never identified. Mydoom remains active to this day in residual form, still spreading through outdated systems. Total damage: an estimated $38 billion, making it the most costly piece of malware in history. Sobig. In the summer of 2003, emails began arriving with subject lines like "Thank you" and "Approved." They looked routine, harmless, the kind of thing you'd open between meetings. Hidden inside each one was Sobig. Once activated, it hunted through the infected system for email addresses and began sending itself out in bulk, using the victim's own identity to do it. This gave the emails an air of legitimacy that made them almost impossible to ignore. At its peak, Sobig generated so much email traffic that it crashed MIT's email servers. Air Canada's ticketing system went down. Businesses across North America, Europe, and Asia were brought to a standstill. 6 versions of Sobig were released in rapid succession, each one more aggressive than the last. The final variant, Sobig.f, was the most destructive of them all. It could also download additional malware onto infected machines, turning them into platforms for further attacks. The person behind it was never caught. Total damage: an estimated $30 billion. Klez. In October 2001, an email arrived. It might have looked like a Microsoft security patch, or a funny joke file, or a document from someone you recognized. The subject line was random. The sender's name was familiar. And that was the entire point. Klez was built around deception at every level. It didn't just send itself using your email address. It stole the names and addresses of people on your contact list and used them as fake senders, meaning infected emails appeared to come from your colleagues, your friends, your boss. Victims reported each other to IT departments for sending viruses they had never actually sent. Trust inside organizations collapsed overnight. Once inside a machine, Klez did something most worms didn't bother with. It hunted down antivirus software and killed it. Then it dropped a second virus called Elkern into the system, which spread separately through every executable file it could find on shared network drives. And on specific dates, it triggered a payload that overwrote files across the entire system with random junk, leaving them permanently unrecoverable. Klez ran through at least 9 variants over 2 years, each one more aggressive than the last. At its peak, it had infected an estimated 7.2% of every computer on the internet, roughly 7 million machines. Total damage: an estimated $20 billion. Conficker. In November 2008, Conficker arrived quietly, and then just sat there. It infected machines through a Windows vulnerability, spread across networks, disabled Windows Update so patches couldn't reach it, blocked access to antivirus websites, and reset security settings. Then it waited. It kept spreading. Through USB drives. Through weak passwords. Through shared network folders. By 2009, Conficker had infected an estimated 15 million computers across 190 countries. The networks of the UK Ministry of Defence, the French Navy, and the German Armed Forces were all compromised. A coalition of technology companies and security researchers formed specifically to hunt it down, calling itself the Conficker Working Group. Microsoft offered a $250,000 bounty for information leading to the creator. The most unsettling part was what Conficker didn't do. The botnet it built was enormous, one of the largest ever assembled. Security experts braced for a catastrophic coordinated attack. It never came. Instead, Conficker was used to spread fake antivirus software. Scareware that tricked victims into paying for protection against the very virus already controlling their machine. Total damage, an estimated $9 billion. Code red. In July 2001, a worm appeared that didn't need a single email to spread. It didn't need you to click anything. Code red targeted servers running Microsoft's web server software and exploited a flaw that had already been patched on systems where the update hadn't been installed. The worm would find a vulnerable server, infect it, and immediately begin scanning for the next one. In a single day, it infected over 350,000 servers. It moved so fast that researchers named it after the Mountain Dew they were drinking when they discovered it. Every infected server had its homepage replaced with one message: hacked by Chinese. Then the compromised machines were turned into weapons, flooding the White House website with traffic until it was forced offline. Code red demonstrated for the first time what an automated self-navigating attack could do at scale. No human needed after launch. Total damage, an estimated $2.75 billion. Recovery took months across thousands of organizations worldwide. Stuxnet. In 2010, a worm was discovered that changed the definition of what a cyberattack could be. Stuxnet didn't want your files. It didn't want your money. It wanted to physically destroy a machine. Stuxnet was designed to target the centrifuges inside Iran's Natanz nuclear facility. It spread through USB drives, moving silently through networks until it found the specific industrial control software it was looking for. Once it found it, it sent false commands to the centrifuges, instructions that made them spin too fast, then too slow, then too fast again, while simultaneously reporting normal readings back to the operators watching the screens. The engineers monitoring the equipment had no idea anything was wrong. The machines just kept failing. Over time, roughly 1/5 of Iran's nuclear centrifuges were destroyed. Iran's nuclear program was set back by years. Security researchers who analyzed the code described it as unlike anything they had ever seen. Layers of sophistication that pointed to something built not by a single person or criminal group, but by the resources of a nation-state. Stuxnet proved that a piece of code could cross out of the digital world entirely and cause real, physical, irreversible damage in the real one.